I'd like to call to order the special budget meeting of the Council of the Village of Chase, held here at the village office, 826 Okanagan Avenue, and via Zoom. Today, March 18th, 2025 at 4 p.m. Need a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Stevens, Councillor Herman. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Number 3, no minutes to adopt. Number 4, no public hearings. Number 5, public input on current agenda items. This is an opportunity for members of the gallery to provide input on items on this agenda. However, there's also a chance for the public to provide input after they've seen the presentation. So is there anybody in the public that would like to speak now? No? Okay, thank you. Number 6, delegation, 6.1, Nikia Hill, regarding funding for summer recreation program. You have the floor.
Sorry, I do better speaking to groups of children. Mr. Mayor and Council, I appreciate you all giving me time to address you today. I'm here to speak on the Village of Chase Summer Recreation Program for the youth of our community. I would like to start by ending any misconceptions that this is simply childcare. This is a program very dear to me. I've lived in Chase for nearly 10 years, and my daughter was fortunate to attend this program when she was young. I'm honored to begin running this program. I was honored to begin running this program again after COVID restrictions were lifted. I'm very excited to head into our 3rd year. I myself never take time off from this program. I'm constantly thinking of ideas, themes, projects, etc. to make the summer better for our little ones. I get texts and emails year-round, people giving me ideas, donating materials, and parents wanting to secure a space for their children many months in advance. I spend countless hours planning and scheduling to ensure these children have a fun, active, and engaged summer. I work with many groups to plan events that will help to inform and educate, all while having a great time. We've partnered with Chase and Area Family Services to do multiple events at the Wilson Park Food Forest. We partnered with the TNRD Chase Library to have members of the BC Wildlife Park come to our community hall and do a presentation where they brought an owl, a turtle, and a snake for the kids to experience. We had a representative from the TNRD come and give a discussion designed for children on invasive plant species. Councillor Dan Stevens gave an amazing Fire Smart talk to the kids, and they went away from that with very valuable information. One of our favorite theme days is Town Heroes Day. We visit the RCMP detachment where the kids get a tour of the building and vehicles by officers. They get to play with the sirens, get fingerprinted, and they ask all the crazy questions you might think. Then we visit the BC Ambulance Station. Again, here the kids get to tour the station in ambulances. We also visit our Chase Clinic, and the doctors and nurses are always so excited to have us visit. The kids get an understanding of what happens in all of these places, along with some great little treats from all of our stops. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to coordinate with our Chase Volunteer Fire Department. However, the Adams Lake Band was gracious enough to come visit the kids with their new truck last summer at the wading pool. The kids were so impressed with the shiny new truck and the lovely firefighters who came to see them. Another very important day we put on is Gratitude Day. All the proceeds from that day are donated to the Ronald McDonald House Charities. We spend that day focusing on teaching the kids the meaning of gratitude and giving back. Last summer, we partnered with our Chase Food Bank. The kids assisted in putting together food hampers and learning how this service helps our community. We also took part in Communities in Bloom by painting small orange pots and planting orange flowers that were displayed in front of the hall during the CIB committee's tour of the village. One of the most important factors is that this program allows parents to be able to continue to work throughout the summer months so they will still be able to provide for their families. They bring their children to the program knowing that they will be safely cared for while learning and having fun. As we all know, the cost of everything in this world has gone up exponentially. So many of us are struggling, and as most of you here today know, finding quality, safe care for your children can be a very stressful dilemma. This is an invaluable service we provide to this community and beyond. Not only does this program provide all the aforementioned, but it also provides teen and young adult staff with the opportunity to work with children and learn many positive life skills. Some staff that have worked the program have decided to move into careers involving youth and community. As mentioned, the cost of everything has increased, including wages. The budget allotted for the summer rec program, sorry, that line was meant to be taken out. In order to accommodate the rapidly growing number of littles who attend the program, we must have the proper amount of staff to safely and effectively carry out the program. To provide the supplies, to ensure the children have materials for activities, money is spent throughout the summer. We purchase various food items to provide snacks or lunches to children who show up with little or no food, which unfortunately does happen somewhat often. This program is vital and integral part of our community, not only to the youth and families, but the young adult staff and all of the groups we collaborate with. Even residents who don't have children attending the program often stop us in public or come by the hall or reach out online to tell us how much they enjoy seeing our little ones out in the community. I very much appreciate you allowing me to speak today, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions or?
Any questions from council? Councilor Stevens?
How many staff do you have?
Last year I had 6, myself and 6 others.
Wow. That's pretty good. Your program offers not only just an educational program for kids, but also young professional development. So that's really cool. I think that's great in a community that doesn't have, a lot of jobs and things like that. I think that's a really cool thing that you're offering. And great job getting all those different connections within the community and outside of the community to come in and educate the kids. I think that's really cool. So great job, and really looking forward to supporting you this year.
Thank you very much.
Councilor Herman?
I just want to say I agree. Thank you for all the collaboration with all the other groups. That's the whole thing that we're really working hard on.
I'm working on many more as well.
I know, and you're at the meetings and stuff, so that's
Yeah.
fantastic, and you can brag about that. I also wanted to say that my daughter worked at the program when she was in high school, ran the program when she was going to college, became a childhood educator, and now delivers mail. But
Yeah.
anyways, it's okay.
I have half of my staff from last year is returning. Even before the program was over, they all asked me, "Can I come back next year?" So
Oh, it's the
I
ultimate
don't even
summer
have
job.
to. I don't even have to advertise it. I already have people sending me resumes.
Nice.
That's fantastic. Yeah, good job.
So my question is, it says you are coming here regarding funding for the summer recreation program. So what funding are you requesting?
Deb, I thought it was.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, so Nakia just wants to make sure that council's aware of the benefit of the program and the fact that in 2024, it exceeded the budget amount. One, because we didn't get the grant from the summer works program or the federal grant, and 2, there was extra staff and
We also did the spring program.
we did the spring program, March.
Sorry,
Councilor Stevens?
So the spring program, I heard it was a huge hit.
Yeah.
So I guess just like a simple yes or no, is that something council should consider budgeting for in the future for the spring break? I think spring break's 2 weeks now, so correct me if I'm wrong, but is that something that we should?
Absolutely. I had a lot of disappointed parents that it wasn't happening this time.
Sure,
Yeah,
okay,
but yeah, absolutely.
great, thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I'll just say
Councillor
you're doing a
Connor.
great job and thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Nakia.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Number 7, no reports. Number 8, no unfinished business. 9, new business, 2025 to 2029 operational budget. Report from the CFO, and CFO, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, staff, and members of the public for coming. I'm quite surprised that there's not more people here today. So what we're going through today is the last of our special meetings. It's the operational budget that we're proposing for council. This operating budget pretty much makes up our taxation increase that we're bringing forward as a request. As you know in the past, the water, sewer, garbage, they're covered through operating fees, and our capital is covered through our surplus that's accumulated through our amortization that's being funded, so. Let's jump on in. So the first of our slides is, where did this one? Sorry, hang on a sec. So the first of our slides is a quick snapshot between the 2024 budget versus the actual. We did do a quarterly, or three-quarter update back in, I think it was November, but just to bring you up to date, where we're sitting at the end of the year, before the auditors have finalized everything, but these are the numbers that have been given to the auditors, so. As far as our tax revenue, we've come in a little bit higher, budget over actual. This is partially because of penalties and interest on taxes, plus we've we've received a little bit extra from our utilities and payments in lieu of taxes, which is our fire hall, our RCMP and at BC Housing property in town. They pay tilts through a different avenue, they pay taxes through a different avenue, we have to apply for it every year, I call it tilts, so. Our grants revenue, going to the next line, is less than what we budgeted. This is due to the fact that our Fire Smart program only ran for 3 months this year because our coordinator wasn't hired till September. So it looks like it's less than actual, but it's reflected down in the bottom in the Fire Smart operations line where we didn't spend everything that we anticipated. The other revenues is a higher than the budget, the actual is higher than the budget because of interest this year. So rates were a little higher, we have the money still from the Growing Communities Fund sitting in our bank account, so that's helping us gather a little bit of extra interest that we wouldn't normally get. Any questions before I jump into expenses? So on the expense side, quick overview, so our general admin came in less than budgeted. We saved on wages because we had a vacant position for about 7 months. We have legal fees, so we budget, about 40 or 50,000 for legal fees that weren't used. And you'll see when we get to the next page, that's one of the line items, we've reduced our budget this year going forward so that we can help with the impact on taxation. And then with the new IT support contract, that has exceeded budget because we're trying to get everything up to a certain standard for the village. The legislative service is our council costs. That came in under budget, and basically that's attributed to council, not all of council traveling and going to conferences that we normally budget for. The emergency planning line, there was no costs in that line because we had no EOC in 2024 and there were no staff training done in 2024. So we'll be looking forward to doing a little bit more in 2025 on that. Our fire service came in under budget, so there's nothing that really stands out. A few of the expenses were up, a few of the expenses were down. There was just an overall surplus gathered from that service. The rescue service was almost right on par, so that was really good planning to our fire chief. And then our first responders program, so that's the other program that we have had more expenses than what we budgeted for in the past. I will be, in the next slide, you'll see we'll be bringing that first responders request up a little bit, so that'll be a slight increase in taxation. And that was due to the larger call volumes being dispatched in 2024. Our Fire Smart operations, as I alluded to, there was only 3 months worth of expenses there, so we had looks like a surplus, but it's just that we haven't used the grant funds for that. The planning and development, we're under budget with the planning and development costs, and most of these savings come from the fact that we have the grants that our director of operations is using for DCC bylaws and everything else, so the housing grants. So we haven't had to use our in-house consulting taxation dollars, so. The grant and aid line item is a little bit under budget, and basically, we've been carrying forward this youth action committee budget amount of $1,500, but we haven't used it in the 2.5 years I've been here, so we'll be actually removing that in the 2025 budget as well, so no sense carrying it forward. We can save a little bit. The economic development line, this is, so we have our summer program included in these dollar amounts. This one exceeds budget for 2 reasons. We have a non-budgeted amortization amount in here, which is we have to do the amortization calculations for year-end purposes. We have to include that in there. It's not necessarily a cash item. This is one of the ones that we don't fund. And in addition to the unbudgeted amortization, there's the 45,000 extra that would have come from the summer program. And that's because we didn't receive the grant as well on that one. The bylaw services, we've exceeded our budget amount in there, but it's because of our recoverable bylaw works that has been approved by council to move forward with. And that gets billed back to the homeowners, and if not collected through a billing process, then we put it on their taxes. The Public Works fleet, they had a bit of savings in the fleet department this year, mostly on fuel, insurance, and I've done a reallocation of amortization between these next 3 services. So, and you'll see I believe we've been able to decrease the Public Works fleet, or at least keep it constant in the next, in 2025. The Public Works admin and the roads and drainage. So what I found in my year-end process was that somewhere along the way, roads and drainage is being included in the Public Works admin, the amortization. So I felt that this was a good time to just align it, and you'll see in the next slide. So we have one that's got a surplus, one that's got a deficit, and that's the reason for that. Otherwise, everything else was pretty on par. Parks and Rec, which is our outside facilities, our outside work. We were a little bit over budget, our actual exceeded budget, and most of that is unbudgeted amortization and the excess costs on the pool, which worked a lot, but like in the expense side, for about 4,000, or yeah, 4,000. The community hall, same thing, we're a little bit over budget in spending, but that again comes from that unbudgeted amortization. Otherwise, most of the other expenses were under budget, so it's the finance exercise to calculate amortization. And then same with the arena, we're about $5,000 over budget, but that's the non-budgeted amortization. So that means that it's not funded, it's just an exercise to include it in there. The museum, same thing, so we came pretty close to par with them, just a small amount of their unbudgeted amortization. Curling rink, same thing, non-budgeted amortizations were a little bit over budget. And then cemetery, we had a little bit of an overage, but I explained to council, I think back in October, November, that we had extra costs incurred for liners this year, which we won't have this next year. Oh, sorry. And then overall, we have a $445,000 surplus, operating surplus for 2024. So that's, yeah, a good amount to put into our savings. So then moving forward, Any questions before I move to the next slide?
What's the contract increase on the arena?
That's the contract we have with the Recreation Society, and it has a 3% increase, I believe, built into it for the term of the contract. Oh, you're already on the next
Yeah,
page,
that's-
Councilor Thomas.
Like already. Really rolling along.
Okay, so what do we have proposed for 2025? So in the report, I don't know if everybody got a chance to read it. So our 2025 budget includes the 4% increase that was set out in the QP contract for employee wages and benefits. We have a general increase in our administration fees due to audit services and our IT support for this year. When you look at the fire service, rescue service, first responders service, we've allowed for the increase in minimum wage, not only for the 2024 minimum wage, but the 2025 step up, because we know what's coming. And until we get council's approval, the volunteer firefighters don't get that step up in minimum wage. Did you want to say something?
It comes into effect in June, right?
Yeah, for 2025, yeah. And then I've also included an increase in the first responder service, just bringing it closer to the actual in 2024, and an increase in the summer rec program that we've talked about. And I have a separate slide I could show you for the summer rec program at the end. So to start with, so all the increases that I've described here bring us to a 4.49% increase. And if you look at page 2 of our report, 0.46% of this would come from what we call non-market change. And I'll bring that forward when I do the tax rate setting, but so non-market change is our new assessment in town. It's if somebody in a vacant lot decided to build a house, we call that non-market change. And rather than blend the rate into everybody, we call that new taxes. And they get billed the same as any other resident would. So we figure out what we need, reduce the non-market change, and then figure out a rate. So that's how we get to the 4.49% up here. So really to the residents, it would be a 4.03% increase in the Village of Chase taxes. Of course, we won't know the other taxes until closer to the middle of April, end of April, when we start getting the requisitions in from the rest of the taxing authorities. So looking at our budget, so in the general admin, it's got the biggest increase, well, one of the biggest increases because it's one of our biggest departments. It captures all the expenses that don't go anywhere else, the legal, the accounting, the overall operating. So yeah, we have our salaries, benefits, and IT supports, and we've really gone through the budget this year very carefully and looked at what our 2024 actuals have been, what our 2024 budget has been, and what we are gonna need for 2025. So we've done a lot of mostly reducing and, to offset the wages that we've got coming forward and whatnot, so. In our legislative, which is our council expenses, I have decreased the travel and conferences budget line, just because not everybody goes, and I've been looking at the history and, so we got a small decrease there. Emergency planning, there's no projected change in that, service. That's our EOC and any training we do for staff. The fire services, we have a small increase, like I said, this is, due to the fact that we're gonna bring the volunteers up to minimum wage, and there's a few other little things in there, looking at past the 2024-2023 telephone supplies and tools, so bringing those up just a bit. And in the same sense, bringing some of those other costs down that had been budgeted too high in the past. Like say for example, insurance is a good one. We had a couple of years ago, we had insurance costs go pretty high, they've leveled out right now, we'll see what next year brings after the fires. But our fleet insurance and our property insurances have come down a little bit. So we're able to bring those down. So rescue services and first responders, they're in the same boat as the fire services. We're budgeting for that increase in wages and a little bit for supplies and tools and training. Those services. Going into 2025, we also know that it's a bit of a contentious year. We don't know what it's really going to bring us in terms of our dealings with the US and what the tariffs are going to do for our services, but so we're trying to bring the cost down a bit. Our fire smart operations and planning and development, these two lines, there's no changes. There was no changes to bring forward in those. The grant and aid, we're bringing forward a reduction based on that youth action committee line that we had, and just leaves us the 10,000 that the council has discretion on. Our economic development, the increase here was $7,500, and that's the increase to the summer program, and also by council approving, the summer program. If we don't get the grant, then, we run that risk of, again, running a deficit this year if council approves that. Unless you want to increase the summer rec program by 15,000 and take the grant line out, because if we weren't going to receive it, that's an option that you guys could offer. But,
Can I just ask a question? So is it kind of like half of one?
It is.
60? Okay, so we either pay for it up front or after? Because we're gonna probably collectively continue the program, so, okay, thank you.
Bylaw services, there's no change in the budget amount. There might be small pieces in the contracts, but not enough to change the budget. Our public works fleet, so like I said here, we were able to reduce a little bit in the insurance line, maybe a bit in the fuel, and then the net increase is just to repairs and maintenance. We do have an aging fleet of vehicles, so at some point, it's unknown right now, but at some point this year, we might have to dip into our reserve and replace vehicles, but our public works manager is working on trying to keep them going for now. So the next two lines, the public works admin and roads and drainage, this is where I've reallocated the amortization between the two services, so it's a net of a $30,000 decrease, which is good, so between the two services. Parks and Rec, we have a slight increase there, just basically due to wages, and same thing, we've reduced some of the line items that haven't been used in the past or haven't all been utilized to offset that difference. Community Hall, no increase in the budget there. The arena line item, like Councillor commented, this is our contracted increase with the Rec Society. No change for the museum operations. A small change for the curling rink operations. I'm not sure why, but their property insurance came in higher, so I'm thinking that their property was assessed a little bit higher than it has been in the past. And then no change in cemetery. So that's what we have for you guys. Is there any questions? Comments?
Looks pretty quiet.
Yeah.
My only comment is that good job, you made it pretty easy to follow for me. Yeah. The only question I have is under discussion in your report. You say staff will be seeking direction from council regarding this budget at council's meeting on April 8th. Is that correct?
Yeah, so April 8th is when we'll be bringing forward what is the tax rates? And then, we'll be able, April 8th is the meeting that'll be bringing forward the tax rates and all of the impacts on the bylaw creation. So council will be able to give us, if you want any direction changed or conversations at that point. Because the April 22nd is when I'll bring forward the bylaws, and hopefully we'll be able to do the first, second, and third reading on those.
Okay. Any questions from council? No. Okay. Seeing none, yeah.
Yeah, I
Councillor Stevens?
Yeah, I move that the chief financial officer's report on the 2025 to 2029 operational budget be received for information.
Seconded by Councillor Herman. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. 9.2, allocation of local government climate action program funds, report from the CFO. CFO, you're up.
Okay, so this, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe that I spoke about this at one of the last meetings. This is the LGCAP program, the Local Government Climate Action Program. We have $27,000 of funds left in that program that need to be spent by March 31st, and through the year-end and budget process, we realized that the Coburn Street multi-use path was over budget, which we absorbed into our roads and parks budget, or sidewalks budget, I believe. So it actually came out of our operating surplus, but we have the ability to reallocate that and get that money back through a grant and put the money back into our operating surplus. Council approves this.
Okay, so there's a recommendation. Councillor Herman?
I move that council approve the reallocation of the local government climate action program funds to cover the cost overruns on the Coburn Street MUP project.
Do we have a seconder for that one? Councillor Torban? Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Number 10, notice of motion. No notice of motion. Number 11, opportunity for public to speak on municipal matters. This is an opportunity for members of the gallery to provide input on any municipal matter. Is there anybody here that would like to speak? Nobody?
Come on, Bill.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we do have one person on Zoom
Oh.
who may wish, I don't know.
Is there anybody on Zoom that wishes to speak at this time? Do we know if Adria can hear us?
She's muted. She should be able to hear us.
Adria, do you have anything to ask?
No, she's on mute,
Yeah.
that's we can't hear her. She should-
so she obviously doesn't have anything to add.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there she is.
Adria, do you have anything to add to the?
No, thank you very much, I don't.
Okay, thank you. Number 12, no in-camera. 13, no release of in-camera items. Need a motion to adjourn the meeting. Councillor Torban, Councillor Connett. All in favor?
I didn't vote.
That's carried. Thank you, everybody.
You want to stay?